Batten down the hatches!
Fire in the hole!
Batten down the hatches!
Cover!
It's the 18th of February. This is the true athlete. The person in rigorous training against false impressions. Remain firm. You who suffer, don't be kidnapped by your impressions. The struggle is great, the task divine, to gain mastery, freedom, happiness, and tranquility. Epictetus. I always talk about the worst day of our lives is coming, okay? And it sounds so morbid and it sounds brutal, but we both got both our parents still, but there is going to be a day soon that will change our world forever. And that could be something awful happening, the loss of a loved one, a redundancy, something's going to happen that's going to change your world. Those bad days are coming. And I think about, how do we prepare for them? So the Stoics, you know what the Stoics used to do? They'd go into their children's bedroom at night and they'd stand over the cot and they'd meditate on their children dying, and they'd imagine a world where their children didn't wake up in the morning. And that sounds awful and brutally morbid, but what it does is it allows you to be grateful and say, but that isn't the truth. And right now I have them, so I'm going to make the most of them. I follow a guy on social media called Jesse Itzler, and he says, well, how old are you now? And how often do you see your parents? Well, I'm 32, my parents are 75, and I see my parents twice a year. Okay, so if they live till 85, which is the expected life expectancy, that's 20 more times for your parents. And it really makes you think of, actually, I've got to make sure that I'm making the most of this life and I'm preparing for those hard times. So doing hard things now gives you an easy life, and we do things throughout our days and throughout our years that help us, that hopefully when those storms do arrive, we're prepared.
Yeah. You know, the other thing that the Stoics used to do that I found so interesting, I think it might have been Seneca had talked about it, but wealthy people, successful people in ancient Rome used to have a room in their house that was laid out like a poor person lived in it, or a homeless person lived in it even, and they'd go in, they'd wear uncomfortable clothes, they'd sleep on the floor, and then what they'd be left with then is a renewed gratitude for where they are in life. But then also they'd know that, well, being really uncomfortable and it not working out wasn't that bad. I still survived and still made it through on eating beans and sleeping on the floor. And I remember when we started out on our business, and there's the rocky starts that we all have of trying to make payroll and all this sort of stuff. I remember you said to me once, if it didn't work out, we'd just go and get another job. The actual alternative to not working out sometimes isn't the worst thing ever. And being aware of that and prepared for that allows you to sort of go 2 feet in rather than maybe being a bit reluctant to fully commit.
Yeah. And one of the things I say is, you don't go back to level 1. Okay, so let's imagine a parallel world where you're just about to turn 30, you've got your 4th child on the way, you start your business, the business fails. Well, you're not 18-year-old Zach that's getting his first sales job. You're somebody that's already got a wealth of experience, that's tried something. There are so many companies out there that are looking for experienced people. You don't go back to level 1, and the knowledge that you get and the learnings that you take from your failures and your rejection, they're powerful. That's massively. Really, really good. And I think, like, you're just never going back to square one. So if it all disappeared tomorrow, and the worst situation was I had to go and get a job at Amazon pushing parcels, I'd be all right with that. And I think if you can make yourself at home and have peace with that, well, actually, it gives you the mindset of, well, I don't need to worry, and it doesn't make me second guess what I'm doing. So it's really about preparing. So let's spin this and maybe think of it from the sales angle. We talk about the first aid kit. What is it important that salespeople should be preparing for?
Be preparing for what happens if you miss target. Be preparing for what happens if you have a bad month, a bad week, a bad day. What is the counter to that? But knowing that, to your point, no one ever died from a cold call. People aren't usually getting sacked for missing target once or even twice. I know people that have not hit target for a few years, still been in a business, but they offered something to the business that couldn't be replaced.
They closed that one deal.
They closed
4
that
years
one
ago.
deal, and I think another one's coming in, and all the leaders believe in it as well. So it's just meditating on what is the alternative. So if the bad thing happens, what's the reality of what would happen? What would happen to you? What would you become? You probably wouldn't be in that bad a spot. You might want to bounce back and have some things in place, but the reality is it's probably not death that you're going towards.
And look around you at your social network and think, look, well, if it all went wrong and I had to move back in with my parent at 32, that there are worse things out there. So it's about preparing for those moments. So I think for salespeople listening, look ahead. What does your week or your month look like that you can prepare for if things were to go wrong? I'm not saying plan as if they are going to go wrong, but just have that thought of, if it did go wrong, am I prepared? I've been Jack Frimston.
I've been Zach Thompson.
Remember, you will die.
Bouncing around like a kangaroo on Viagra.